Okay, so we should be recording now. So welcome. My name is Kim Peters, and I am the Extension Agent for Agriculture and 4-H in Los Animas County, which is in Southeast Colorado. Trinidad is the county seat, if you know where that is. So I just kind of want to take care of a few housekeeping things before we get started. First off, the best way to view this presentation is in what Zoom calls side-by-side mode. So if you look at the top, if you're on a computer, I'm going to show you how to do this. If you're not, you may have to kind of mess around with settings because I'm not exactly sure how you would make that work. But so there's a green bar up at the top, and next to that it says View Options. So click on that, and there should be a side-by-side mode. And so if you just click on that, it should show the PowerPoint, it'll show Darwin, and then hopefully the chat as well. And so I'm also going to ask everyone to stay muted until you need to ask questions or speak, just to kind of keep background noise down and to keep distractions at a minimum. The last thing I want to say is a lot of people are experiencing really terrible kind of winter weather conditions right now. That has kind of put a pretty big strain on the electric grid. Darwin is one of my very dear friends. They live in the Texas Panhandle near Amarillo. They have had power, but if for some reason something happens and their power goes out, we will reschedule kind of to another time whenever things are maybe a little calmer. But they haven't had any issues, and hopefully they won't. So with that, I would like to introduce Darwin Pluhar, and I'm going to let him tell about himself. But Darwin, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Kim. Go ahead and start the recording. Howdy, I'm Darwin Pluhar, Diamond M Bar Livestock Futures and Consulting. I hope everybody is staying warm and safe, and so far is having a happy and prosperous 2021. This presentation is being recorded so you can refer to it all later. At this time, I'd like to thank Kim Peters and Los Animas County, Colorado Extension for hosting this webinar. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I grew up one of 5 kids on a family cattle ranch, small grain operation, 41 miles north of Miles City, Montana. I went to grade school in a one-room country school for 8 years and then went to high school in Miles City. I was active in 4-H and FFA. My family worked together in all facets of our business to try to be as good at production as possible. That was our focal point. We hayed a wide swath of the Miles City, Jordan area to make sure that we always had 2 years worth of hay on hand. In terms of the market, we heard the market numbers on the radio, didn't pay much attention to it. Yes, we compared weaning weights and what we got for our calves with our neighbors, but for the most part, we were price takers. Whatever we were offered for our cattle, that's what we got. In 1975, a year that got burned into my consciousness, my folks went in for their annual cattle ranch operating loan renewal with the banker. He proceeded to tell them that they did a fine job of production, but if they didn't get smarter about their marketing, he probably would not be able to renew their loan the following year. I can remember the deer in the headlight look they had when they got home that night. And I realized right then and there that I need to take the bull by the horns and get smarter about the marketing to ensure that our family cattle ranch continued on into the future. In 1975, I became extremely interested in the futures market. And from that point forward, my focal point was going to Montana State University at Bozeman and getting a degree in ag economics. At the end of 4 years, my wife Jenny and I decided to pursue our interests, mine in the cattle futures market, hers in range science, by going on and getting our graduate degrees at Texas A&M University. My whole focal point was the cattle futures market. My mission was to find a mathematical means that was unemotional that could tell you when to hedge and when not to be hedged. I believe that there was a technical tool that I could discover that would do just that. In the beginning, my 3 graduate committee members, plus I requested a well-respected cattleman and a renowned cattle market expert serve on my committee to make sure what I was trying to accomplish would in fact work in the real world. The end result was my thesis in economic analysis of a technical hedging strategy for live cattle future. In the beginning, those 5 committee members said it couldn't be done. I proved that it could. After graduation, I went to work for the 2 owners of Cactus Feeders. At that time, they had 3 feed yards. One of my initial tasks amongst many projects that I was assigned was to analyze the cattle on feed report and the market action prior to and after in approximately 100 different alternatives to see if there was some means that we could capitalize on our knowledge and adding to our bottom line. When I was promoted to director of hedging, I asked the 2 owners what was their 10-year goal. They decided that they wanted to become the world's largest cattle feeder. In that pursuit, I realized what was involved in managing the risk associated with that. At their insistence, I was also asked to develop a formula agreement with a packer so that we could avoid having to sell our fat cattle through the haggling process with a packer buyer. I achieved that knowing full well that it would change the way that fat cattle were merchandised forever. After working with not only feeders, but ranchers and packers for 10 years, I realized that it was time for me to go out on my own in 1993. I started a daily database in 1984 that each day I update with 256 variables that keep me on top of the cattle market and the futures market. Every day. Cattlemen are inflicted with what I call the 4 Ps. First, they're paralyzed price takers. Second, they're production oriented. Third, they're pissed off. And fourth, they're pointing fingers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to look ourselves in the mirror, get some fire in our belly, get a thicker hide, take the reins, get control of our own destiny. Most cattlemen have an extremely expensive hobby. Few are consistently profitable.
You have a message to get rid of up above there.
How do you do it?
I don't know. Hang on. Don't worry, I'm technical difficulties.
There's a part of the screen says, please move this window away from the shared application.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to fix that.
Where's your cursor?
I don't think I can get. It's just moving it forward.
I can't get rid of it, Kim.
Okay, we'll just keep going. Everyone
Okay.
will find it.
Most cattlemen have an extremely expensive hobby. Few are consistently profitable. The cattle market is an ongoing roller coaster. In the past 5.5 years, cash cattle feeding profitability has ranged from a plus $476 a head to a minus $558 a head. The average cash loss, if you continued to feed cattle over the last 5.5 years, on average, you would have lost $26.89 per head. You cannot survive this business on a cash-to-cash basis. Survival of the fittest. Who will be the fittest? No excuses, just results. You have to be totally focused upon the solution. Don't waste your time admiring the problem. Seek a solution. I have a good friend, a neighbor rancher, who on New Year's Day texted me that the outlook was kind of bleak. The solution is hedging. At the NCBA in February of 2020, CattleFax came out with their price forecast stating that 750-pound steers were expected to go up $6 in the near future to $150. Positive margins in the cattle feeding segment for at least the first half of 2020 will increase demand for feeders, supporting prices. Expect trading range for U.S. average 750-pound steers for 2020 to be between $140 and $160 a hundred. In reality, in 2020, the price of a 750-pound steer dropped from $146.81 in January to $114.23 in April, a $32 a hundredweight break. We ended the year with an average of $139.99. In that same CattleFax forecast, the precipitation and temperature, they were looking for the circled area to be normal. In reality, we were far from normal. Rather, that area experienced some of the driest conditions, which continued all the way through 2020. Here is a picture of Jenny's dad shortly after enjoying a successful day fly fishing in Yellowstone Park. Shortly thereafter, he had a stroke. He could no longer work, let alone fly fish. The parallel being that Cattlefax's price outlook was a snapshot, just like this photo of Jenny's dad. All kinds of variables come into play to change what was a very positive situation based upon the snapshot outlook. I focus my attention upon listening to what the cattle market's telling me and hedging accordingly versus telling the cattle market what to do in a snapshot outlook perspective. Keep in mind, you should never let, if the banker has the attitude that he doesn't want you to hedge, you need to get a new banker. The banker works for you. Have a 10-year plan. Know what return on investment you're shooting for. You must have a bullseye in order to be able to hit the target. Just because you have a line of credit, you don't have to use it. Don't buy cattle when the economics don't dictate it. The day you do buy cattle, have 2 years forage grain either on hand or price locked in, or buy corn futures. Cattle on feed are on feed an average of 133 days. In the past 133 days, corn prices have risen by $1.69.5 a bushel. Feed costs have jumped by 46%. Always have 4 ways to sell your cash cattle inventory so you can be ready to execute if necessary, much like a drought plan. Why wait for your industry organization to solve your problems? Take responsibility for it yourself. Your cattle business should be able to stand on its own 2 feet. You shouldn't have to rely upon another job, ag endeavor, oil and gas, wind turbines, coal or timber, etc., to keep your business afloat. Don't rely on your banker, broker, or some analysts in Chicago. Those experts, a lot of times, are just fresh out of college. Your banker has sales goals. Your loan is part of their goals. And finally, don't ask someone for direction that has never been where you're going. Here's an old rusty pair of fencing pliers that Jenny found along this stretch of fence. This stretch of fence is a neglect of responsibility in the same way that if you neglect your marketing versus picking up that tool, dealing with it on a daily basis, and then having results that you can soon be very, very proud of. In the same way that that pair of fencing pliers can be extremely useful to you, the second tool I'm going to introduce to you tonight, my first being the 7 and 13-day moving average combination, which I have presented numerous times over the last 28 months, which has built a good foundation. But now it's time to move on to the second tool, which I call the COFI, the cattle on feed indicator.
Okay, pause. Do you have another application open? You've got directions to get rid of that box. Is your spreadsheet or anything else open?
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. Okay, keep going, sorry.
Known as the cattle on feed indicator, focus on the close on the second trading day after the cattle on feed report. Most people looking at the cattle on feed report are most interested in what the cattle on feed placements and marketing are, and then how the actual numbers come out relative to what was expected. And the market analysts, brokerage, extension service, etc., look at the market action on the first trading day after the cattle on feed report. The bottom line is what's most important is what occurs on the second trading day after the cattle on feed report. Now you need to focus your attention on the contracts that have 14 trading days left in the futures contract after the cattle on feed report. If the futures contract expires in less than 14 trading days, you need to move to the next option. For a 2,000 cow ranch, per the cattle on feed report indicator, following the December cattle on feed report, you need to focus upon the January feeders. If they close lower on the second trading day after, you hedge by selling 29 January feeders, MOC, or market on the close Globex. You then hold on to that position protecting your calves for 12 trading days and liquidate on the close on the 14th trading day after the cattle on feed. To protect the cows on that 2,000 cow ranch in terms of their value per the cattle on feed indicator, following the December cattle on feed report, you need to focus your attention upon the February live cattle. And if they close lower on the second trading day afterwards, you hedge by selling 55 February live cattle MOC, market on the close Globex. You liquidate your cow protection portion of your hedge by buying those contracts back 12 trading days later on the 14th trading day after the cattle on feed report. Had you done this religiously for a 2,000 cow ranch over the last 28 months or 840 days, you would have produced profits of $1,593,612.50 for that ranch. Again, if you start in September 25th of 2018, over the last 28 months, you'd have produced profits of $398.40 a head. Hedgers use the futures market to protect their business from adverse price changes. I'll pick on my friend Daryl Peel, who I was in Montana FFA with, who works for the OSU Extension Service. Most of them focus their attention upon the principles of livestock hedging, definitions, and so forth. But they're unwilling to accept the liability and give you what's most important: when do you need to hedge? We need to get off of our own butts and pull the triggers ourselves using a simple, reliable tool to control our own destiny. On a daily basis, you need to implement your hedging strategy unemotionally and without hesitation. Again, much like a drought plan, the emotion of the moment when it hasn't rained or the market is limit up or down is no time to make a decision. Pay your bills and margin calls to the brokers before the opening bell. Daily analysis is key. I spend time every morning before 7 and at least 3 hours every afternoon and evening, every day the market's open. You need to keep track of your year-to-date cattle profitability spreadsheet. I think that's an absolute necessary part of the daily business to keep track of whether you're making progress financially in your business. And I text my market orders to brokers. That way there's no room for misinterpretation, misunderstanding if they have it in writing prior to supper the evening before. In case the clients, I provide my clients the text to send. The contract size we deal with for feeder cattle is 50,000 pounds of cattle. For live cattle, it's 40,000 pounds. How many contracts do you need? Again, 50,000 pounds in a feeder cattle contract, 40,000 in a live cattle contract. If you have 725-pound calves and you're going to have 69 of them, it takes one contract. If you have 138, it takes two. If you have 2,000, it's going to take 29. In the same way that if you have 2,000 head of 1,100-pound cows, it's going to take 55 live cattle contracts to protect them. A margin, it's the performance bond. It's the minimum amount of funds that must be deposited by a customer with his broker. How much margin money is required? Each live cattle contract requires $1,800 per contract. Each feeder cattle contract requires $3,375 per contract. So, what do I tell my broker? As an example, following the December cattle on feed report, the Monday after, January feeders closed at 140.62. Therefore, if the market closed lower than that on Tuesday, thus below 140.62 Tuesday, December the 22nd, you sell 29 January feeders MOC Globex. You text the order to your broker so there's no misinterpretation. That way he has the exact order in his hands. The market order was filled at 139.90. You exited the hedge with the market order 12 days later to buy 29 January feeder cattle MOC Globex. That order was filled at 136. Thus, you picked up $3.90 a hundred, or $1,950 a contract for a 2,000 cow ranch. Because it's so important, let's move forward a month. After the January cattle on feed report, we now have switched to March because there's less than 14 trading days left in the January feeders. The Monday after the report, March feeders closed at 143.85. Therefore, our order needs to be, if it closes below that, on Tuesday, January the 26th, we will sell 29 March feeders MOC Globex. Again, we texted the order to our broker to make sure that he had the exact order in hand. The market was filled at 141.475. So that's where you were hedged. You waited 12 days and you exited the hedge with the market order by buying them back on February the 11th with the order buy 29 March feeders MOC Globex. The market order was filled at 139.50, so you picked up $2.32 or $1,162.50 per contract, or $33,712.50 for the 2,000 cow ranch. Again, after the January cattle on feed report, the second trading day was the key. We made sure that there's 14 trading days left in the contract. For that 2,000 cow ranch, it required 29 contracts of feeders and 55 contracts of fats. Therefore, adding to our hedge profits, so after 29 months, we've picked up $1,664,175, or $416.04 per head. Again, in 29 months, that's what you could have added to your bottom line. So, in the real world, what does this all look like? here are the trades that have occurred for that 2,000 cattle ranch over the last 29 months. In summary, the second tool, the cattle on feed indicator, requires 5 steps every month. First, you need to determine the next cattle on feed report date. If you type in NASS on the internet, that will get you the link to find out the dates of the next cattle on feed report. The next one is actually this coming Friday. On the first trading day after the report, you access the feeder cattle and the live cattle close, and you text the orders to the broker. Then on the second trading day, you make sure that the broker has those orders in before the close and get the fills after the close. On the 13th trading day, you're going to text the exit orders to the broker. On the 14th trading day, you just make sure that the broker has the orders in before the close and get the fills. Had you been persistent and consistent in your hedging approach the last 29 months, you could have added $416.04 per head to your bottom line. Questions?
Okay, if anybody has questions, you can just unmute yourself and ask them, or you can type them in the chat and I will read them out loud.
Let's get some discussion on here. Darwin?
I'm happy to have any discussion with anything that comes to mind.
Hi there,
My
Darwin.
mission is to help you become more successful in your hedging program. Yes.
I've got a question for you. Excellent presentation, by the way, fascinating. How do you establish the order price? I feel like I'm missing something technical when you
do it at the market.
Just at the
on
market
close.
price.
Yes.
Okay.
All you have to do is establish what the price, wherever the market closed on the first day after the cattle on feed report.
Right.
And if it closes below that price, you sell MOC, market on the close, Globex, so that electronically you're filled. And
Right.
the reason why I add the Globex is because there is still a minute amount of volume that is traded in the open outcry in the pit.
Mm.
You get much better fill if you always put Globex at the end of your orders so that you have that liquidity associated with the Globex market.
That it's fascinating. It's remarkably simple too. Have you looked at that, backwards looking with the data going back before 2018 to see how reliable that
Yes,
system
I have.
is? Yeah, I thought you might.
Realize that I initially found this strategy when I first started working for Cactus in 1983. So I have been tracking it since then. I'm constantly asked, well, that's great. It's worked in the past, but how has it worked recently? And my focal point today was just to give you the last 29 months worth of results showing that it continues to work now as it has over the last 37 years.
Oh, fantastic. I'll give it a shot. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, Chris is asking, does this work with your 7 and 13-day moving average program? So maybe just kind of explain how those can work together or how that works.
This is a simpler approach that doesn't require as much calculations in a spreadsheet. You can, to me, it's a case of what you feel most comfortable with. And I would recommend that you hedge half of your cattle risk through the moving average approach in one account, and half of your cattle risk strictly with the cattle on feed indicator, and then decide after a 1-year period which is the most comfortable approach that you want to continue to work with into the future. Again, you know, my business is livestock futures consulting. If I'll be glad to work with you. I cherish that client relationship.
All right. Meg Gresky is asking, so you don't even need to have actual cattle in order to do these trades, correct?
You know, there's two types of people that trade the cattle futures market. There's hedgers and there's speculators. With hedgers, you have cattle, an asset that you are trying to protect the value of and increase the profitability. With a speculator, all you're trying to do is capture the ups and downs in the market. From past experience, hedgers are more successful in their profitability than speculators. That's just my experience.
Okay, Stan Wood is asking, how do you determine the number of contracts required?
Okay, you take all your cattle and you determine which ones more closely parallel the feeder cattle contract and those that parallel the live cattle contract. Now, what I do is any bulls, cows, steers on feed, heifers on feed, that's what I lump into the number of live cattle contracts that I need. Calves and feeders is what I lump into what I need to protect in the feeder cattle contract. And what you need to do is take the number of head times the forecasted market weight at the time that you're going to sell them in order to come up with the number of pounds of exposure you have. And like I said, if you have 69 725 pound feeders, that's going to be the equivalent of one 50,000 contract. If you have 2,000 of them, it's going to require you to have 29 contracts. In the same way that if you have 2,000 1,100 pound cows, when you do the math, that's going to require 55 40,000 pound contracts to keep you protected. And I'd be glad to work with you in order to make sure that you're not missing the amount of exposure you actually have in the marketplace.
Okay, I don't know who this is, but someone is asking, did I understand correctly that you suggest hedging with live cattle contracts to protect the value of your cow herd?
Yes, I do. It's their value is closely tied to the live cattle contract. And so they're the best means to protect you from a declining market.
Okay, I don't see any other questions in the chat, so we'll just wait to see if someone else asks, or again, you can put them in the chat and I'll read them out loud.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
I got a question about the market on close orders. How do those, I mean, how does the broker get those to Chicago? I mean, what price are they based against?
They are filled in the closing range of the day. The sooner that you actually enter those orders with your broker and he has them entered into the platform, the better fills that you get.
Okay.
And that's why
they do have to be in there before 12:05 Mountain Time though, right?
correct. Yes, you know, and that's why, like I said, you know, 24 hours before when you want that fill to occur, because once the first trading day after the cattle on feed report occurs, you know the exact price that is the trigger point. Why not go ahead and enter that order to your broker, who will enter it into the electronic platform, so that you're ahead of the pack in getting a better price fill. The earlier you get your order in, the better the market on the close fill you'll get.
Because the risk exists that you may end up with a partial fill if it's too late in the day.
That plus depend upon the quantity that are filled with market on the close orders.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, Justin Derner is asking, Darwin, how would you work this strategy with a summer grazing operation only with yearling steers? Say 650-pound entry weight in May and 925 pounds coming off early September.
Okay. My wife, first of all, said to tell you hello. Your market weight is 925 pounds. So you need to take that weight times the number head that you project to market and divide it by 50,000 pounds to calculate the number of feeder cattle contracts that you need to religiously hedge month after month after month, 12 months of the year.
Okay. Dale is asking, how much will it cost to do trade? Is it priced per contract? Is the commission paid on both the sell and the buy order?
Okay. That is an arrangement that you need to discuss with the broker that you decide that you want to do business with, and get it clarified, the amount of commission that he is going to charge you. And my advice is that you make sure that the commission that you set with that broker remains constant and is for a full round turn. In other words, a sell and a buy.
Okay, we have one more.
You know, do your shopping. Do your shopping with the broker that you decide that you want to do your business with.
Well, compare several.
You know, compare several.
Okay. Andrew is asking could we download a copy of the PowerPoint slides after this presentation or the session video? Andrew, I will say that the video is going to be uploaded to YouTube. So there is that, but I will kind of let Darwin address the slides.
Yes, the slides will be
We can give them a PDF and email them.
yes, they will be available.
And then Chris is asking if you would show the screen that has your action items again. He might want to take a closer look
Okay.
at that.
Is that
Is that what you needed, Chris? He said yes.
okay?
So, any other questions? Fire away.
If there's other questions that come to mind, you know, feel free to contact me by phone or email or text. You know, I realize this is a learning process, and my mission is to help you become as proficient at this as possible.
I'm putting Darwin's contact information in the chat, so if you guys want to jot some of this down. Darwin, your email is dmpluhar.
Okay, if you'd like, I can go ahead and wrap the presentation up, and the last screen will have my phone number
Okay.
and email upon it.
Forgot about that, sorry.
You know, in summary, if on a daily basis, you need, in order to have a consistent, profitable business, you need to focus on hedging every day, or let me do it for you. Thank you. And here's my contact information. Any more questions?
We have one in the chat.
Okay.
From Luke Wilson, this strategy always assumes buying when the market closes below. What about if the market closes up? A reverse strategy. Okay.
If and each of you needs to decide whether you're totally a short hedger protecting from the adverse downside price risk, or if you're a legitimate long hedger. Now, if you're a cattleman that is in the cattle business buying cattle, then you are in fact a legitimate long hedger, and you need to reverse the strategy. And if the market closes higher the second day after the cattle on feed report, you need to buy MOC on the close and then liquidate that by exiting 12 trading days later with sell orders. So yes, this strategy for legitimate long hedgers can be used as well.
All right, any other questions?
If not, again, I'd like to thank Kim Peters and Los Animas County, Colorado Extension for all their efforts in putting this webinar together. I wish all of you the best of luck in developing your hedging programs. If I can be of any assistance, please contact me. Good night and enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thanks, Darwin, and thanks everybody for joining us. Stay warm. I hope everyone's power stays on and water flows. So again, it may take me until tomorrow to get the link for the YouTube video, but that should happen tomorrow. So just watch your email, and if you don't get it by, what is today? Tuesday. If you don't get it by Thursday, just shoot me an email and let me know, and I'll get it to you. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to end the webinar now.
Good night.